Hello, everybody. I'm Brandon Adams. Welcome into Midtown Atlanta, just outside Bobby Dodd Stadium at Grant Field, where Georgia will get ready to conclude its regular season slate today in the rivalry often known as clean, old-fashioned hate against Georgia Tech. 12 noon, the kickoff time there for that. Georgia Bulldogs arrived here at Bobby Dodd Stadium just off North Avenue a matter of moments ago. We'll give you a chance to see that dog walk video, and there was a huge crowd of Georgia fans gathering around the intersection here. It's really funny in a landlocked situation like this where there's really very little room for folks to stand. Busy street in downtown Atlanta, as you might imagine. You got all these Georgia fans, player parents, obviously UJ fans who make it a tradition to greet the team when they arrive at the stadium. Everybody's just kind of pushed in together in the same spot, and you're having to fight to kind of make sure that no one spills into the very busy and open streets, North Avenue, that's just right outside the stadium there. But the team was able to successfully arrive and safely arrive here a moment ago. For a lot of these Georgia players, it is nearing the end of their career. Obviously, the hope is a big postseason run here, beginning with the SEC championship and after that the college football playoff. But for many of these players, these are among the final times they'll get a chance to do this. And so there was a lot of emotion for a lot of these players as they greeted their families. In fact, you'll see some of that on the video here. In other cases, it's young players who are just kind of glad to see their families. Obviously, during the week, they're preparing and they're working hard and they're getting ready for a game like this. And that final time to get that hug, get that high five, get that greeting from a parent or a loved one or a friend is always a really special thing. It's one of those moments where if you're coming to a Georgia game, I would encourage you to get here early. Give yourself a chance to see that, because it's a great chance to kind of share the human side of Georgia football beyond just the images that you see on a TV screen or the sometimes tiny images that you see when you're in the stadium looking down on the field. These are an example of the real people that play on this team and the very real family members they have that love and support them through wins and losses and everything else. So a great start to the morning, seeing the Georgia team arrive. You'll get a chance to see that on video. We were able to capture that for you a few moments ago. As far as the game itself goes, there is obviously a lot of intrigue. Some of this related to history, some of this related to the present tense. The historic implication for today, Georgia having a chance to conclude an undefeated regular season for the first time since 1982. So this is obviously a big step towards Georgia's ultimate goal of winning a national championship, to be able to conclude with an undefeated regular season. That would certainly be quite a milestone to accomplish today, and obviously is a very big favorite. Georgia clearly has its sights set on that, but in rivalry games, many folks on guard for really anything happening, and for UGA, I think the sense is that there won't be much concern that Georgia might be looking past Georgia Tech to Alabama or whatever might come after that. This is obviously a rivalry that means a lot to Georgia coach Kirby Smart as a head coach of the team, but also an alumnus of the program. He understands the history of clean, old-fashioned hate. Many of these Georgia players very much understand that same thing. So I think there'll be a rivalry-level intensity from Georgia today. We'll see if Georgia Tech's able to match that. Obviously, it's not been a successful season for the Jackets, but from the Georgia side of things, there is clearly a desire to keep that mantra going. You've seen the signs before. You've heard it said before, we run this state. That's something that Georgia really buys into and believes when it comes to this rivalry, and that's something they're looking forward to hopefully putting on display again there today. So chance to get a rivalry win, a chance to go 12-0, undefeated regular season for the first time since 1982. And then the recent intrigue that's kind of bubbled up around this game, I believe it was The Athletic that was the first to report this. Mike Griffiths has also written about this at DAWGNATION.com. The possibility that George Pickens would be able to return here today. There has been rumblings and grumblings about that, and the one thing that you can't escape when it comes to Pickens is that the fact that he has spent so much time around the program is a very good thing. And it's always been, to me, as someone who likes Pickens and obviously wants the best for Georgia, it's always been for me a good sign that Pickens' proximity to the program has always remained so close. Think about seeing him on the sideline during home games. Think about those moments when media members saw him going through drills during practice, even if it was just routes on air, even if it was just something that was, far removed from actually full contact football. He was around. He traveled with this team to Auburn. He traveled with this team to Jacksonville. He has spent time around Georgia football, whereas if you want to go back to the pandemic year of 2020, that was a situation in which a lot of players around college football, not so much at Georgia, but around college football, they kind of opted out and they were gone. You never really saw them again. They began preparations for their NFL future, and they did so far removed from the college team they had played on. In the case of Pickens, that's never been the case. It's always been a degree of evidence that maybe Pickens really was considering returning for UGA, and it's simply a matter of would his health allow him to do that. Well, now there's some reports out there that suggest that may be about to happen. Obviously, if you want him to be a factor in the SEC championship, it's made much easier to imagine that being the case if he gets a chance to tune up and test things out and play here a little bit against Georgia Tech today. So that's obviously one of the things that Georgia fans will be watching very closely during the game. They'd love to see Pickens back. Georgia needs all the help it can get at wide receiver. This has been a season-long story. Georgia dealing with those wide receiver injuries, none more prominent than Pickens, but dealing with those wide receiver injuries really all season. And to get a guy of his caliber back, if you can do that before the end of the season, before in many cases the real season begins, SEC championship and possibly the college football playoff to come after that, that would obviously be a very big thing for Georgia. So we're watching that very closely today. And obviously we'll invite you to stay close to Dog Nation for more information and more details on all of that. I'll remind you this is our Kroger kickoff, and I'm happy to have all of you with us. Of course, a lot of you use Kroger to get stocked up for all your Thanksgiving needs over the course of the week, and many of you still enjoying those leftovers here today as you watch me right now. If that's the case, I certainly appreciate you being here. But also for a lot of you, you're using Kroger as well to get stocked up for that game day watching party. And tailgate needs, the beverages, the food, everything that goes along with that, Kroger's got you covered on all of that. So make sure you stop by your local Kroger. You can also always check out the situation there at Dog Nation, I should say at Kroger.com. You can go to DawgNation.com anytime you want. But at Kroger.com, you can check that out there, and they'll get you loaded up on all of that. Quick spin for us around the comment section. Then I'm going to get inside the stadium and get ready for the game and allow doing this all season long. Today, a lot of fun there, too. All right, over here on the YouTube side of things here for a moment, you got Lesko checking in. You got Jay Shipes checking in. Appreciate that with all of you. Scott Pete checking in there, too. Joe Simpson says 2 huge games back-to-back in Atlanta. Yeah, it's almost one of those things where you think about, hey, just going to camp out here and wait to go down Centennial Olympic Park Drive, just down that way a little bit towards Marietta Street. You'll be there at Mercedes-Benz Stadium ready for next Saturday's game. And obviously, for me, these are certainly closer to home games than most. I live in the Atlanta area. Now, last night we were coming up from Thomasville, so not exactly super close last night, but nice to think about being here this week and then turning around being right back at Mercedes-Benz Stadium next week, which is obviously the season-ending goal for every team in the SEC, and that's what Georgia gets a chance to do next Saturday. That's a really good point. CNEOG, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that. DGD Podcast says he wishes Kroger was still in North Carolina. DGD, we appreciate your support and your support of Kroger there as well. Aaron Henderson on the subject of Gunnar Stockton's last game last night. Yeah, listen, Stockton gave it a game effort. That guy's tough as nails. If you watched the game on Peachtree TV, you saw that. Blood flowing out of his nose. He's lowering his shoulder, and he's really, playing the game as a running back almost, and obviously made some big throws there too. But Thomasville was just too much last night. Very impressed with what Thomasville brought to the table. That's a team that you could easily see winning it all right now in the 2A classification. And if you had a chance to check in and tune in for that game last night, how about the atmosphere? Almost like a Hoosier-style thing. All the buses that had come down south from Rabun County, the second longest road trip in GHSA playoff history, 325 miles. Rabun County traveled to be in Thomasville last night. And, of course, Thomasville, that's a community that's loved high school football since Mike Bobo was playing there. And even before that, the great William Andrews, of course, part of the legacy of football there at Thomasville. And they showed up in a huge way last night. I love big atmospheres for high school football, and it doesn't get any bigger than what Thomasville and Rabun County combined to put on display for Peachtree TV last night. And it was a great win for those Bulldogs. So a big night there. And as you said, if you're a Georgia fan, to see the high school career come to an end for Gunnar Stockton, but now Stockton will turn his attention to UGA, possibly at the All-American Bowl. He's certainly expected to be there. And then after that, an early enrollee at Georgia and getting ready to be part of spring practice here in 2022. And I think Georgia fans are going to find themselves a lot to like in Gunnar Stockton. And certainly he put some of that on display last night, even though it was not the day that Rabun County wanted. Alex MLD asking about Nolan Smithy. I saw Nolan walking in a little earlier. It was difficult to tell what his health status was, but I did see Nolan walking in. He's always among the better dressed players. In fact, if you'll watch this video as it scrolls through there, you'll get a chance to see Nolan Smith kind of arriving there a moment ago. Of course, what I'm seeing is a few seconds behind what you're seeing. Scott Pete, appreciate the good morning. Thomas T-Bone, appreciate that there as well. Avian Curry says, I'm looking super fresh after a long night. Yeah, so we left Thomasville, got back to Cordele around 1:30, and Jeff Santel was driving. Listen, I did not do Jeff a solid last night because it's not easy to drive on the road like that. When I got back in that vehicle heading back north a little bit, I passed out dead asleep. Jeff's playing every kind of music he can to stay awake, and I'm trying. Obviously, when you're in the passenger seat, you're trying to help the driver stay awake that late night, and I just couldn't stay awake. I was dead tired. So got back to the hotel. We were there probably 3 hours or so, and now on the road here right now and back in Atlanta. But listen, there's nowhere I'd rather be than a great high school game on Friday and a Georgia Bulldogs football game here on Saturday, especially with a chance to finish off an undefeated season. So if my cost for doing that's a little bit of lost sleep, I'll take that any day of the week. I appreciate you saying all that, though. Here on Facebook here for a moment, let's get a few comments. Maurice Carter checking in. Good to see you, Maurice. Matthew Chafin also checking in there, too. Isaac Cruz, let's get that natty. Hashtag JD to NYC. Also free pickings as well. Yeah, it'd be great to see George, and I love the hashtag JD to NYC. Obviously, Jordan Davis standing as tall as a lot of these buildings, these skyscrapers here in Atlanta. So great to see him arriving there a little bit earlier. That was terrific to see. Jacob O'Neill says Thomasville ain't playing right now. No, last night they certainly were not. I may lose my son here in a minute. This may be like the Auburn game, or this Tennessee game where that happened, where the sun may go behind this building in a minute. So I may get very dark here very, very quickly. But nonetheless, I appreciate all of you being here. Steve Yanni checks in from Northwood, Iowa. Good to see you. Met a great Georgia fan, Dwayne, a little earlier, who had actually traveled to see this game today from the island of Oahu in Hawaii. So it's always fun to see how far many Georgia fans travel for games like this, including all the way over. He said he watches, this is made me feel terrific. He said he watches Dog Nation Daily each and every morning, which is 5 a.m. local time in Oahu. Obviously, in the summertime, it's 4 a.m. They're 6 time zones apart in the summertime. So that means the world to me. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and that's a great thing. Just really means the world to me. Joseph Kennedy says Xavier Truss is huge, and that's always one of the things about watching the dog walk. You're always blown away just by how big all these players are in person right there in front of you, and obviously it's really striking to see one run after the other. Very tall, very, very big guys. And obviously one of the reasons why Georgia's been as successful as it has been this year is because of those big guys on both lines of scrimmage, and fun to watch them arrive there a moment ago. Carter Lawson also checking in from Riyadh. He says, for 2 more weeks. Well, Carter, we appreciate your service to our country. We appreciate you being with us here right now on the show. Thanks so much for checking in. And, of course, happy holidays to you and to all of you wherever you are. We appreciate you being a part of what we're doing here at Dog Nation. Dylan Pye also in Glenville, Georgia as well. So we're going to get ready to wrap things up, get ready to start this game here today. Don't forget, after the game is over, for the final time in the regular season, we'll do the Dog Nation post-game show presented by the UGA Bookstore. We'll be right down there on the field. Maybe if George Pickens plays today, we'll certainly be talking about that. Georgia hopefully concluding the regular season slate with a 12-0 mark here, getting another win in this rivalry known as clean old-fashioned hate, and getting a chance to say we run this state again. Obviously, that's what Georgia would love the chance to do. So we'll talk about all the ways in which Georgia tries to get that done. Also, don't forget, folks, to make sure you check out your local Kroger for all your tailgating needs. Game day party, getting together with friends, wherever you're doing that. This is one of the final times you get a chance to do that here this year there as well. So make the most of it. Get all the food, the beverages, and the plates, the napkins, and everything else you need right there from Kroger. Make sure you check that out today. This has been the Kroger Kickoff Show. Georgia and Georgia Tech coming up from right here behind me at Bobby Dodd Stadium, a place that Georgia has won every game since 1999. They have certainly made themselves at home. Already plenty of Georgia fans on hand right now. Another UGA takeover painting downtown Atlanta in red and black. Tune in to watch it at noon on TV. See us after the game for the Dog Nation postgame show, and stay close to all the Dog Nation platforms throughout the day for big news and updates on everything that happens. Dogs hoping to stay healthy and set their sights on the playoff push and the, as we've been calling it around here, chase for the championship, which begins next Saturday right here in downtown Atlanta, right down the road at the corner of Marietta and Centennial for Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the SEC championship game. But before that, business to take care of here against Georgia Tech. So we'll let the Dogs do that. We'll let you watch it, and we'll see you back after the game for the Dog Nation postgame show presented by the UGA Bookstore. This has been the Kroger Kickoff. We'll talk to you soon, everybody.